So for step one, we're going to use our keys to remove the multimedia unit. We're going to start left, left, right, and right. You'll feel them click in. Once they click in, just pull the unit straight out. Now you can remove your wiring harnesses so you can have access to the workspace. We're mostly going to be working with this large wiring harness and also this pink connection for our LVDS cable. So you have a couple of options on where you're going to place your box. The recommended method is to drop down the glove box by opening it up. There's 3 screws on the top, 3 screws on the bottom, and you'll find that you can route your USB cable right out the side if you do that method. So the cable will rest right here and the box would just go right on top. In that method, you could place your Wi-Fi antenna behind this panel right here. It's basically just hollow. However, you'll also find if you reach back behind this cavity, there's plenty of space to simply just drop the box behind it. You're going to be able to put your Wi-Fi antenna right here. And so today we're going to demonstrate that method. Next, we're going to remove the AC controls. You simply pull down and the unit pops right out.
We've removed the head unit, the audio multimedia head unit from the car. Let's go ahead and begin. We're going to install these 2 subboards into the radio. We're going to remove these 4 screws right here. After removing the 4 screws, these are T8 screws, then you can go ahead and remove the cover off of the head unit. After removing the cover, there's 2 more screws to undo. Go ahead and take these 2 screws off. Again, they're T8 screws. So remove these 2 and then you'll be ready to remove the CD mech. So once you have these 2 screws undone, you can lift up the CD mech gently, and then I would go ahead and just place it here on the side. You don't have to undo this ribbon cable. The ribbon cable's long enough. Next, go ahead and undo this ribbon cable right here. Next, go ahead and grab this subboard. It's going to say 2 dB, and then this one says 2 panel, and then underneath it says 2 MB, which is motherboard. So when you position this, it's going to be positioned this way. You'll have these 2 mounting screws right here to place here, and here you'll take these screws off. But before I do that, once you've undone this, go ahead and take your smaller ribbon cable, connect this here, and go ahead and secure it by pushing on that black tab. Once you have the ribbon cable inside the board, go ahead and we're going to insert it into this place right here. Blue side is going to face towards the back of the radio. So go ahead and insert it carefully. And that's how it's supposed to be positioned in. Next, go ahead and once you have the ribbon cable secured for the board, go ahead and undo these 2 screws right there. They're size T10. So go ahead and start screwing in these mounting screws. I already put one in here. This is what it would look like. The second one's going to end up over here. So go ahead and place this guy in here and screw it in. Once 2 mounting screws are in, go ahead and position your board over like that so it lines up with the mounting screw holes. Where it says 2 dB will face towards the back of the radio, and where it says 2 panel will face the front of the radio. So go ahead and get these 2 screwed in with the original T10 screws, so you can go ahead and connect the other 2 ribbon cables. Once mounted, go ahead and take this ribbon cable here. We'll connect it into this port right here where it says 2 panel. So go ahead and undo the locking mechanism. Insert your ribbon cable. Once inserted, go ahead and lock it in. So it can end up like that. Next, go ahead and undo these 2 screws right here. These are T8s, so we can mount this secondary subboard right here. Once you have these 2 removed, go ahead and take your second subboard, undo the locking mechanism here, install this ribbon cable in like that, and then secure it into place. After you've inserted this ribbon cable here, go ahead and position this subboard here, and then you'll mount it using those screws that were originally here. Okay, once you have this secondary subboard mounted with these 2 screws, go ahead and fold your ribbon cable like this. And then you can route it through this opening like that. Once your ribbon cable is routed through, go ahead and insert it into this port right here where it says 2 dB. Insert the ribbon cable. Once it's in all the way and straight, go ahead and lock it in. Once you have all 3 ribbon cable connections made here, 1 here, 2 here, 3 on the bottom of the subboard, and you have it the other end of that ribbon cable here, so a total of 4 ribbon cable connections, and go ahead and reinstall everything. We'll put the CD mech back on, secure it with the 2 screws. And before you do that, actually, quick tip, make sure that the ribbon cable is still inserted properly, just to be on the safe side. And then you'll go ahead and reposition that back in. Like that. We'll put in our 2 screws, and then we'll put our back plate back on and put in these 4 screws.
Next, we're going to drop down the glove box. There's 6 bolts. There's 3 along the top and 3 along the bottom, and you use a T20 star bolt. So to remove the glove box, there's 6 bolts, 3 along the top, 3 along the bottom. We've already removed those, and once those are removed, there's also 2 clips holding it up at the top. You just want to use a panel tool to loosen those, and it will drop down. And from there, you'll be able to access this box, which we're going to replace with our cable. So next we're going to route our wiring harness. So these connectors need to be routed over to the glove box, which there's plenty of space if you go back in the cavity behind the multimedia unit and over to the glove box. Gives you plenty of space to route that over, and eventually it's going to connect to this box at the top of the glove box. So now that we've ran our wire over to the glove box, we're going to attach it into the box above the glove box. We're going to disconnect the factory connection, plug one end into our wiring harness, and then plug the other end of our wiring harness into that black box where we just disconnected. So that's the first one. And the other end goes into the black box above the glove box. It'll look like this when you're done. Next, we're going to install this cable into the back of the AC unit and also route this wire up to connect with our wiring harness that's going to be in this top area. So first, we'll remove this brown connector. And it's going to plug into our new wiring harness. One end into the harness, the other end right back into the unit. Feel it click in. And then this end is going to come up to meet with our wiring harness up top. There's plenty of room back here to feed the cable through. And then with our other end of our wiring harness, it's already waiting up here. We're just going to connect it into the one labeled CAN, so green to green. Now we're going to connect our main wiring harness. Next, we're going to connect our LVDS cable. The connection with 2 wires going in is going to go into our box. Going to take this and plug in this pink connector that we disconnected. Snap it in. Then again, the single end, not the one with 2 cables, but the single end is going to plug into the back of the factory radio. Next, we're going to set up our Wi-Fi antenna so the wireless CarPlay function will work. There's plenty of space in this radio cavity right below the radio to stick the antenna. And then we'll route the other end of our wire into the back of our unit. So next, we're going to install our USB cable. This will go into the back of our unit. We will splice into this black ground cable and connect it to our ground cable coming off of our wiring harness. And we're going to route the USB cable back through here, and it's going to come out in our passenger footwell. There's plenty of space right behind this panel to drop it. This panel doesn't even touch the footwell, so there's plenty of space to drop your cable right here. So with the ground wires we have running off of our USB cable and our wiring harness, we went ahead and just connected those two. So now we're ready to install our unit. We're going to apply the correct settings for the toggle switch based on the instruction manual, which for this car, it's going to be 1 and 2 off, 3 and 4 on, and the rest off. So refer to the instruction manual for your specific vehicle. We're also going to put a little foam tape on the top and bottom to protect the unit before installing. So now we're ready to connect our box. We're going to have 4 connections: Wi-Fi, LVDS, our CAN cable, and then also our USB cable in the back. So in this car, when we installed our module, there's so much space back here, we were able to literally pull our unit down to this cavity down here, which you're gonna wanna do because if you look at this wiring harness, it's pretty thick. We're gonna have a lot of cable and stuff back there. So get this module back here as far as you can and then shove the cables in behind it. So now we're going to plug in this cable into this board we installed in the back of the factory radio. So I want to make sure it clicks in just like that. Then we're going to connect our factory connections to the back of the radio, the wiring harness that we just installed, and then also our new LVDS cable. So to reinstall the multimedia unit, you're going to want to make sure there's clearance behind it. So with the glove box dropped down, you're actually able to reach right over here, and this is actually the wiring harness wire. I was able to push the connection box, that big black connection box where the 2 wiring harnesses meet, down underneath, more so into this compartment down here, and that allowed plenty of room for this multimedia unit to slide right back into place, and it clicks right back in. We've reinstalled our AC controls, and now we're going to install the AMI cable, which is located in the center console. You don't connect anything into the auxiliary end. This is just so we can utilize the aux to tap in for the audio for the CarPlay unit.